I'm doing this talk on a topic. It's about a certain type of personality or a certain type of person. And I didn't know these sort of, there was actually a label or definition for this type of person. I just noticed that going through school that there are certain kids that, are very loud and confident. There are certain kids that are very controlling of others. You can't play with me unless we're playing this game. I can see that happening with my daughter now. This particular kid always wants to choose the game, and if you're not going to play that game, she gets very upset and goes and plays with someone else that she can control. And I've met her mum, and I saw exactly the same thing through interaction. So it's something that's been passed down, either learned or through the DNA, or both. So the personality type that I want to talk about is called an empath, and there are many people many people that are empaths. And a couple of characteristics of empath is they tend to be extremely caring, which is a good thing, but on this planet, the way the structure, the system is set up, empaths can tend to get screwed over because they're very allowing, and they put other people before themselves all the time, more interested in helping other people, and they ignore working on themselves and their own traumas and things that they need to work on to grow gets put on the back burner because they'd rather help other people, friends, and do things for people at work, and family as well will always come first with them until it gets to a point where they just have got nothing left to give. There's give everything. So it'll be financially, give their energy, give their emotion, give their love, and give everyone the best possible life they can afford. So these people have come in like this for a reason, and there may be many reasons. The one reason I've come across, and it's been a common theme I've seen through a lot of work from really high-level spiritual people who've actually come down to help humanity through this sort of stuff. And there are all other different types of personality types. You need to investigate each one individually and see which one or few that you fit into, so you can start working out some solutions to rebalancing your personality, because everything's about energy and something's out of balance. So all these other emotions, I'm talking about wanting to help and please people, they may come from childhood. Maybe your parents were never pleased with whatever you did, your work, so you've developed this habit of needing to keep people happy. Or maybe just from your heart, it's come down through not past lives, but maybe you've reached a higher plane and you've reached a vibration of just pure love and compassion, because you've moved totally out of all your lower frequencies, and you've come back and you're still operating like this, which ideally should work, but not in the third dimension, which is still operating in the lower emotions. So you just get taken advantage of by people who hold on to or have or possess or vibrate with low frequencies. So the thing with empaths is, at least whilst on Earth, they need to be rebalanced to learn to put themselves first, not meaning neglect others, but so it's like I've mentioned before, in an aeroplane, put your own mask on, and then you can help more others, or build yourself up in all areas of your life, your health, your fitness, your finances, your spirituality, And I use spirituality and religion as totally different. So spirituality is just following your heart. You're allowed to study any religions, see what you like, see what's common, see which doesn't fit right and feel right in your heart, and then come up with your own way of living, providing it's a good way of not going to harm people. Ideally, would be the way to go, rather than something that's going to create conflict and war. And we can all see that that sort of attitude is not peaceful, it's not loving, not compassionate, and it's where we're stuck now and trying to move out of. Many people have moved out of it. I know people that have already moved their vibrational frequency out of the lower emotions for 99% of their life. Some of these sort of people, they've moved during COVID to the hills, to the countries, out of the big cities, out of the corporation stuff. They're being more self-sufficient, got their own chooks, growing their own organic food, so they're getting your organic eggs, and they're just setting up self-sufficiency, catching their own water, which is these days all being sprayed by chemicals. So hopefully you have filters to remove that, solar electricity, and also a lot of building, doing a lot of the construction themselves, and heaps. I've seen people, even my brother got on YouTube and he told his whole house it looked more professional than a professional, with the types of cuts he did, and bathroom, and he's doing all his he did a cellar, dug out under the house, and created a cellar where you can sit in, and pool area, and he's done it all himself. Didn't know how to do it all, but all the information you need is on YouTube. It tells you what to do. So the thing is, do you have the time, or are you working 9 to 5 for a corporation as a cog in a wheel, or do you have time to do some of these things that you might enjoy, starting projects, or just the parts that you enjoy, or just watching tradespeople and picking up tips as you go? So these empaths, what they need to do is get balance. You'll know if you're an empath, because you'll just want to help people in need. No questions asked. You don't think about it. Oh, this could lead to this, to this. You want to help, and you get a lot of enjoyment out of it. Besides just helping people, you tend to give up everything you've got, your love, your resources, and you don't think twice about that as well. Buying this, buying that, and as it goes, it actually barely even bothers you. So you look back and think, okay, this guy was helped, these kids were raised well, and I'm happy about it. So there's no issue. I mean, they're not the sort of people that would think, oh, I wasted my money. No, you didn't. You helped someone, you learned a lot from it. So that was your experience. But like I was saying, the issue is the world's not made for these people. They knew that when they were coming in, but it didn't really click to me. I could see it happening, right through my life. I've only just recently worked out I'm definitely an empath after watching hour after videos on empaths, and from psychologists, and from psychologists who also now moved into spiritual teachings, and clear as day myself and other people I know are empaths. So if you're watching something on TV like a lost puppy, half starving, they find him in the snow and revive him, and he becomes a happy household pet after that, you might feel quite emotional about that, and people around you really wondering, why you're looking so sad. Same with videos on homeless people, and someone doing a good deed, like giving them their shoes or jacket there then on the spot. Again, you get emotions, stronger emotions than most people, who some may just be like stone and not even have very little emotion about it, which I find a little bit strange if they're missing the emotion of of compassion. There's maybe a little issue there, and that may stem back to their childhood or past lives. So it may even be in times when I've watched just cartoons and it has a sad part. I find I get quite sad about it, and I know it's only a cartoon, so the kids are going, "What are you looking so sad about?" But it's not just about the cartoon; it's about the message, the energies, and all this that's happening. So if you find that that's happening to you a bit, then you may be an empath. So go and YouTube or Google. I like YouTube. And look up empaths, the definition of empaths from different people that have a good following and been going a long time. There's one called Empath Exposed. I find that guy's really, really good. I've never seen his face, just audio, but he says things and just yes, you just tick them all off. There's Dr. Ramani, who is a psychologist, and I think may even touch on the spiritual side a little bit. I haven't watched enough of her work to see if she does. I know some psychologists are reluctant to go into the spiritual understandings, but I'm sure some of them know them because they hint at things. But also they don't want to be ridiculed by their peers and taken off YouTube and whatever else happens to them, lose their license. And I know a lot of doctors I've seen the same who have already lost their license for saying what they believe, and they have to be very careful too. I learned that out when I needed some particular blood test. My naturopath requested blood tests that are not normally conducted by doctors, which they can, they're able to, but they refuse. And it took me about 6 different doctors over many weeks to get this complete list done. And the doctors say, look, I'll do this for you, but I'm not doing this one. And another doctor said, look, I'll do this one. I'm a bit worried about being investigated because it's happened before, but I'll do it. It's just not a common one and it's going to get flagged. And another one kicked me out, saying he's been investigated 3 times for doing testing requested by naturopaths, because naturopaths do some pretty detailed testing that's not often done by the mainstream doctors. And a lot of the testing I had done from the naturopath, in some cases the doctor had to look up if they actually even have access to this test, and they did. The naturopath already knew that they did. And the issue is there's some stuff that maybe is not meant to be found too early, so the test is not run. Some of the tests I paid for myself, the doctors just wouldn't do them, so I paid for them myself. Some of these tests found some issues which I needed to get fixed quickly, because they then turn into more serious conditions requiring lifelong medication and probably surgeries as well. So if your mainstream doctor's not testing these things, which looks like they don't, or told not to, or get in trouble if they do, how are you going to catch these things that are already a problem? And also notice that the ranges that the doctors say, okay, this is a safe range from here to here for each hormone, vitamin, and so on, is very different to what the naturopaths say. The naturopaths have less tolerance. So once it gets to here, we're going to fix it early. And a test I did recently, naturopath uses an electrical system which sends pulses through a headband, different vibrational frequency pulses. Each frequency is equal to the pulse of, for instance, there's one for magnesium, one for zinc, one for this hormone, one for that. So you hit with 8,000 pulses, you don't feel it, it's just a headband. And then prints out a report. So the following week, printed out a report, went through everything, told me I supplement a lot because I know the Western food is just, in general, total crap. And you're going to get some nutrition out of it, but you're going to miss out on a lot of important nutrition you need to maintain optimal health, energy. Those who are training are going to need maybe a little bit more. So I followed his advice, and he showed me the list. It was 8,000 things I'd listed on there, and he tells you, okay, these are your measurements. All these are good, which is pretty good, pretty rare, and that's because I have been supplementing. I'm just going to open my cupboard now for years with good quality prescription only brands of vitamin C's. Got some B's, multivitamins, zinc, cod liver oil, fish oil, and what we got up the back here. So vitamin B12 specifically came up because I was a bit low on that. I'm missing a few which I've run out of. I normally use some adrenal herbs and Neurocalm. It keeps your nervous system. It's all herbal, this stuff. And what else have we got here? Fulvic acid, lion's mane, apple cider vinegar, creatine for a little bit of extra strength, and muscle size, aloe vera, ionic silver. So it goes on. I haven't even opened my third cupboard where I've got all my protein powders. They're all organic, plant-based. There's collagen as well. Chia seeds, LSA mix. So the reason I have all these, when people say, why do you have all these? Why don't you just have a good diet? Well, I've got a pretty good diet. I reckon my diet's fairly healthy. I can see areas where it can improve. And even with a good diet, still lacking in all this stuff. A couple of reasons is because the soil in Perth, maybe WA, is very low in nutrition. Because when I was growing and learning about organic growing, most of the nutrition is in the topsoil, which is the broken down leaves and branches, and they all make the soil, and under that is just sand, which is just like quartz and basalt, largely quartz in most cases, and there's very little nutrition in there. So that's why farmers have to add a lot to the soil, so the fertilizers. So if they're using synthetic fertilizers, that's going into your body. If they're using synthetic weed killers like Roundup, that's going into your body. If they're using synthetic fungicides, that's going into your body. Like sulfur dioxide on the grapes. I just had some grapes. I haven't had any for a little while. Just had some now. Washed them with apple cider vinegar to get the sulfide off. I noticed they were made in the USA, grown in the USA. I was thinking, why would they be grown in the USA when you can grow grapes here? Anyway, I ate a small bunch, and I've been feeling off in my stomach since. So I know straight away, over the past probably 6 months, the body's become really sensitive. And it's probably due to I've been cleaning my diet up for a while and working on increasing my vibrational frequency. So it's like really tuning into stuff that has always been bad for me, but I've still been eating because my body wasn't giving me the signal. So this stuff builds up on your body until it becomes toxic in various organs and blood, and then you get major disease. So now I'm starting to get to a point where it's getting finer tuned by cleaning my diet up for a few years. And I could eat, naturopath told me years ago, don't eat wheat. I did full testing. So I did full blood testing, including all the tests that your doctors will never do for you. I did saliva testing, tested all your hormones, urine testing, which tests certain things they call pyroles. I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head what they are. Even poo testing, which was necessary to check things like if you have parasites, which most people probably do if they eat out a lot and eat in places like Bali and off the streets. So you want to get those removed because they're using up your nutrition, and some of them are really bad. They'll use your nutrition and energy, and they'll make you actually feel hungry for certain foods you're not normally hungry for, because they want the food. So in effect, they have a form of mind control. They are organisms. They're all living things. They have consciousness, and they need certain types of foods like sugars. So they'll make you crave certain types of sweet foods to feed and grow them. So the parasites, parasites, I know when I learned about parasites in nature in school, they live off the host. They drain the host, weaken the host, and eventually kill the host. So there's ways of removing them depending on what comes up in your test. Okay, so sensitive people, empaths, I don't know all, but myself being identified as one, I've noticed my whole life I've been allergic to this, allergic to that, allergic to prawns, allergic to dust, certain foods I can't eat. I would still eat a lot of them, but I didn't even know what allergy means. I just knew I was getting rashes, asthma, eczema, like red blotches on the back of my neck, sort of where the hairline is. Bloating, definitely. If you look back at photos, I'm bloated. I'm holding water retention, feeling tired all the time, and I didn't know what it was. And the whole list, you could just list the whole lot. Sometimes stomach a bit bloated, but you just keep eating the stuff because I didn't have the knowledge, and all says it's good for you on TV, and sugar's a natural part of life, and this, that, and the other. All the ads we were programmed as kids to believe, and you're going to need to have your cereal every morning because it's got your wheat and all these fortified nutrients added to it, which I believe now your body can't absorb a lot of those. And the wheat, the gluten in the wheat is highly inflammatory and causes so many problems in the body, from inflammation to asthma, eczema. Just look at the list of what gluten causes. Some people, they've been having it so long that it just bypasses the digestive system. It's not even picked up. So for me, I could, even after naturopath said, "Oh, you have to go gluten-free," I just reduced the gluten. So I stopped having bread, but I'd still have, if someone, I was at a restaurant and there was something, pastry or something, I'd still eat it. But I reduced it a lot. But I gradually worked towards reducing it more and more. But I didn't really have any intention of removing the lot, because I like products with wheat, which is pastries. And in India, when my parents were born, chapatis, the chapati bread, I grew up on that stuff. But as with a lot of the things I eat, as of pretty much the beginning of this year, they told me, in a way, that they're not going to tolerate me eating it anymore. So I went somewhere, had a slice of bread with my bacon and eggs, as I would every few weeks, and my stomach started to burn, the lining of the stomach. I could actually feel it burning. I was bloating, feeling really sick, and that day was screwed up. And I thought, what was it? Was it the gluten? I wasn't really sure. Was it the bacon? Another time I ate something, it was like crumb chicken, and it was really lightly crumbed as well. My mum made it. So I thought, it's hardly got any crumb on it. It wasn't like the thick, crusty crumb. I had that. Very shortly later, 5 minutes later, I was lying on the couch, sore stomach, bloated again, lining of the stomach feeling like it's been dissolved or something. And again, it ruined the rest of the day, because it just puts you in a bad feeling. You just feel crook and ruins your mood. And then there's a third time, and then I thought, okay, my body is now being so desensitized, or was desensitized, being resensitized. Because when you eat the stuff for so long, your body doesn't even pick it up. It just goes straight to your organs and starts causing problems. But now it's telling me at the early stage, as soon as you get into your stomach, we're going to get rid of it and basically stop taking it. I've been having grapes recently. I know they're sprayed with some sort of sulfide as an antifungus. And I studied a long time ago, you can wash this off, apple cider vinegar and water. So I do that every time anyway. So tonight, picked up some on the way home, put them in apple cider vinegar water solution, mixed it around many times, rinsed it all out, ate them, and I've been feeling crook since. Different to the gluten sort of feeling, but similar. My stomach is not liking it. So before, I was just eating it. I didn't know, I thought it would be okay because I was washing it. But no, either not washing it well enough, or the insecticides and fungicides have actually penetrated, because fruit has a membrane which substances have to be able to penetrate, and maybe in there as well. So I'm not really sure. So what I'm saying is empaths can be very sensitive. Light workers also can be very sensitive to various things. Certain places, and I've never known why till more recently, where I go, where it's very noisy and a lot of it's a lot of noise, where it's like a big food hall or places like that. It's like I feel this energy of, I just want to back out of there and go somewhere quiet. I always will, when I walk down the Vic Park Strip, heaps of restaurants here, I'll pick the quietest one. So that's one, peace, quiet. I just want to relax. I don't want to be bombarded with all this energy, and other people's energy fields as well affects people. So I know people personally, even family members, if they're in certain places, busy shopping centre, it's okay when they're with small groups of their friends and people they know, but if there's some loudmouth or a real alpha, the alpha male, the stereotype one who's real pushy and always gets their way and bosses people around, that sort of energy is just like, rather back off and do your own thing and just be in peace. So the reason I'm explaining all these things and how they relate to me is for you then to relate them back to yourself and decide, hey, I noticed that, maybe I'm a bit of that, or maybe I'm that, maybe I need to study it, because then I can learn to master it. So I'm not really telling you about me. I don't normally talk a lot about myself. I'm using myself as an example to help you start to think through things a bit more if you don't already. Now, the thing with empaths, to balance them up for their mission on Earth, was already they were balanced, but they're not balanced to this planet, because this planet is all about, well, not the planet, the structure set up by humans on the planet. It's very cutthroat, as you know. It's not compassionate. There are compassionate people, but it's about taking, getting, forcing your way through, bossing people around. And empaths don't survive very well in this environment, which explains now why I went to university, which I didn't enjoy. But I was okay at it. I was pretty good at it. But I did it. I went to after that I started working in a bank. So here we're working in a massive building. I don't know how many hundred employees. The energy above you, below you, interacting with people all the time. And I used to walk around just sweating. So everyone else walking around fine, besides other empaths. And then I just noticed I was always have a sweat, always under a certain amount of tension and stress. And I was wondering why am I the only one with sweaty patches under my arms just during the day normally or in meetings. And I didn't realise that everybody's energy field vibrates out strongly 3 meters each way, and some people with big personalities or powerful personalities, good or bad, I could say low or high frequency, and sometimes some of the bosses they put in place because they're going to make hard decisions. They don't have compassion. They've got to chop people, and some of these people are missing, as in that DNA has been switched off. I don't know if it's from birth or developed by watching how their parents interact, but they'll slash the workforce, redundancies, whatever, and not care. Whereas the empath is going to find it very difficult to do that, to sack someone. But you're dealing with these massive energies that are lacking the compassion, and there might be lower frequency energies around too, like jealous people that don't want you to succeed, people that'll take your work and put their name on it, talk behind your back, try to get advancements through ways like spending time with the boss and taking the boss out and that sort of thing. So they're trying to get advancements through ways which, I saw all this, were not by showing their skills and their abilities. So through the workforce, I noticed this, university, I noticed this, and then I started to realise that I like being on my own most of the time, or with friends that are on a similar vibration with, similar topics to talk about. We don't talk about, I don't know what the stuff normal people talk about, but we're not talking about the stock market or politics or I don't know what else other people talk about. We're talking about life, evolution, where we came from, where we go. We discuss where do we go in between lives, guides, our purpose, why we're here, the meaning of life, these sort of things. Important questions, but about your whole existence, not just about how to make as much money as possible and get that mansion and house and all that. Although we did have our goals, and there's times when we're discussing that to help each other out, but it's not our general discussion. That's the discussions that we kind of, empaths in general, keep away from, because we just, on a soul level, don't see much value in it unless we need to know that a little bit about it to do whatever we need to do. Okay, so back to the empaths, and the thing you have to realise with empaths, for them, they are generally, and maybe not in all cases, I haven't studied it enough, but a lot of them are light workers. So they've come here with a purpose, which they're all getting kicked into now, with the great shift to work in their areas of healing people, animals, nature, planet, and other areas. So they're all finding themselves evolving into these areas. So some of them still got some hours doing whatever, cleaning whatever they can get, because they weren't vaccinated, most of them, unless they just thought, like, there's got no choice, I'm gonna be homeless if I don't. So some of them might have, but most of the ones I know, or all the ones I know so far, some I haven't spoken to for a while, so I don't know if they have or haven't, weren't vaccinated, so they lost their jobs and are now doing healing work. Now they're doing a bit of other work too, because they don't think they need to be vaccinated, but they're focusing on their main jobs, which is what they came here to do, which is the healing work. So with their emotional states and being very sensitive, they need to get balanced up. So they maybe have more of a certain type of energy and less of another type of energy. They may have more of a feminine energy, even if they're a man, more nurturing and understanding and not argumentative, and they'll agree. They don't want to cause arguments. They don't want to fight over stuff. So they'll agree with anyone. Yeah, okay, let's do what you want to do. Most of the time. But to balance them up, they actually have to stand in their power and become stronger, and actually take on some masculine energy and balance that up. So they need to stand up, they need to not take shit, they need to be confident standing in front of people if they're going to start presenting to people about a better way of living or whatever they're teaching. So the only way this is going to happen is by them having a personality in their life who is the opposite to them. And the universe knows this, and this person will come and will be there. Probably has been there for many, many years already for empaths, because they just naturally attract each other. Empaths who are selfless naturally attract another personality called a narcissist, which is selfish. So perfect match. The narcissist will just drain the empath, energy vampires, and just they call it for narcissists their loot, or the word's not loot. There's a certain word that they need a supply. That's what it is, a supply. They need a certain supply constantly of everything, like love. They need likes on Facebook. They need compliments. They need all the stuff that they lack, because they lack compassion, which is why they're perfect. Narcissists and people with psychopaths, perfect to put into powerful positions where they can wipe out an entire country, men, women and children, in whatever way, terrorism or war, and they don't have a second thought about it. But an empath wouldn't do that. So, so they don't have the compassion and these type of softer personalities. So the empath needs this sort of person to strengthen them back up. So they'll get basically smashed down in every way. There might be a boss, might be brother, sister, someone you work with, husband, wife, somewhere where you're kind of locked in and you can't just leave that easily, because if it's your boss, you need that money, and there might not be other jobs which pay you that much, or may not be other jobs at all around in your field. So you get basically not treated well, you get overpowered, and you end up more as a feminine energy, always giving concessions to everything and allowing things. But sooner or later, what happens between these, because these relationships were designed for a higher purpose and for a good purpose in the end, they're to bring the empath back into their power and balance so they can stand in their truth and become a powerful force of nature. So that was the stimulus that was required for this to happen. So you really have to thank these narcissists, even though it's maybe really shitty, and a lot of empaths get to the point of suicide and even commit suicide when they're dealing with people with really bad personality disorders who have no compassion. It gets even deeper if you look into the spiritual aspects of narcissism. So I can point you in a direction. So some people on YouTube are just talking about the obvious, but if you look at someone like what's her name, Melanie Tonya Evans, she's got a program called Narcissist something recovery program, narcissist abuse recovery program. That is a good program, and I recommend that program. It'll talk you through the spiritual aspects and working yourself through it and releasing childhood stuff, which basically causes you to be the person you are, and it attracts these types of personalities into your life. And you might go from one relationship to another relationship and wonder, why am I keep attracting the same person? Because you haven't learnt the lesson as yet from this relationship. All relationships are for a purpose of learning, and you haven't learnt the lesson and you break up, well, another one will come along. Similar personality until you learn the lesson. That'll just keep happening. If you're not aware there's a lesson to be learned and don't start doing the shadow work and spiritual practice and research, it's never going to end. It'll keep going into your next lifetime as well. Once you understand, this type of relationship is for this purpose, I'm this sort of personality, they're this sort of personality, this is what they're trying to do, this is what I'm trying to do, then you can start finding the solution. And they'll give you the solutions as well. So that was that Melanie Tonya Evans. There's also Dr. Ramani, I can't remember the spelling, Indian lady, psychologist, and specialises in narcissism, narcissistic abuse, and she'll give you plenty of tips. I don't know if she gets how far she goes into the spiritual aspects or just keeps it cleanly psychology. I think she tries to. I think most of these people know there's a spiritual aspect to it, but they don't want to lose the respect of their peers or be ridiculed or get their license removed. I don't know if that's in her case. I haven't seen enough of her work, but I do have enjoyed her videos. Empath Exposed is a really good one to watch. Now, if you look up narcissism and the spiritual connection, or narcissism and demonic possession, that will take you deeper into why certain people with certain personality types, they're given all these different names of personality types, but certain people develop two personalities or more. Okay, so these are whole new personalities which they have been either born with or have come into their life later or activated at a later time. So these energies, and sometimes they're fine, their own personalities in control, and sometimes something will trigger, and it's whatever triggered them originally when some abuse first happened to them will trigger the other personality to take over. The other personality takes over for that period while they're in that low triggered vibration of anger or hate, and they do some terrible things. And then when they come back to their own personality, they may not fully remember what they've done, but it's on camera and they're in jail and behind bars. So this is happening. So I hope that gives you a little bit of idea how serious this is, and it's good to look at what your personality type is, and if any of this stuff rings true to you. I'm sure the narcissist empath relationship will, because pretty much most people have heard of or will come across this. You've got some tools now where you can go and start sorting this one out once and for all, so that this DNA is not then passed on to your children ongoing. Thank you.